The leftist outrage mob must end. We are creating a culture that demonizes people of faith, that demonizes people who do not toe the egalitarian line of mandating social equality, mandating anti-bigotry. Whatever that means. We can't define what that means. All we can do is cast a wide net of people who disagree with leftist opinions and call them racist, sexist, genderphobic, homophobic, whatever, transphobic. That's all we have to do as a society now to generate outrage and media attention and public sympathy. This is outrageous, and it's happening in a culture where we've been inculcated with the notion that we as individuals are the most important sentient beings alive to us. It is a me culture. Increasingly, our societies have become less and less communitarian, which in some respects is good, because you don't want to snuff out the creativity and the ingenuity of the individual. But the fact is, many people do not like individuals that do better than them. They grow envious, jealous of them. They're jealous of other people for their successes that they've had in their lives, while not doing much to improve their own lot in life. They snicker and jeer at those who think outside of the box, get promoted, step ahead of them. Our school system teaches us that we are to exalt fairness above all else. But we have to treat others the way we wish to be treated at all times, even when they do not show us the same courtesy. Because that is what it means to be the bigger person. In service of what? In service of what grand vision are we bigger people by allowing others to step on us? I can already hear a leftist parent crying out in the distance, declaring that the reason why we teach these children concepts like this, though nonsensical in nature, in my opinion, is to prevent them from fighting and to help them adapt to life in a peaceful world. Because humans are predominantly a war-making species of primate, as are others. I mean, heck, think about what the peaceful left preaches. It preaches tolerance, yet when it comes to MAGA hat-wearing kids, Catholic students, at Covington Catholic High School, suddenly many members of the left want these kids punched, doxed, or killed. Such a dichotomy of value manifestations can only exist by adopting an extreme consequentialist view of ethics, which asserts that it is the end result of an individual's actions which determine the morality of said action. This has resulted in a society that reflects little, reacts a lot, and refuses to self-correct. This has led to society's adoption of moral relativism as its ethical framework. Hence, why our society is so fixated on this notion that because someone did not intend to do something wrong, that person should not be punished, or that person should not have to face the full consequences of their actions, merely because they did not intend to do something wrong. That is what led to our lax justice system. This whole idea that justice is subjective, morality is subjective, ethics are subjective, and that frankly, all those old Christian white men should not be taken seriously because they're just old people. They don't know the way of progress. They were too old to understand what real progress looks like. Real progress means casting aside the church. Real progress means casting aside the family. Real progress means casting aside the local community. And real progress, first and foremost, creates a society where religion, family, and the community are castigated as being backwards, as being barbaric, as being so traditional. Thus, it has come to the point that this millennial generation believes that marriage is uncool. This whole notion of labeling folks who are against progressivism, this modern strain of progressivism, as being uncool, and those who are for this stream of progressivism as cool, that self-righteous mentality is a major factor in what is tearing our countries apart. And in no way has this issue manifested itself clearer than in our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The Liberal Party preaches ethic relativism, moral relativism, and cultural relativism. despite liberals claiming to be more civilized, more reasonable, and more composed, as well as more compassionate than conservatives. They've oft demonstrated otherwise. In their speech, in their conduct, in their manner of dress, in the way they communicate, carry themselves, it is visible. One does not need to look far, one does not even need to make anything up to find that this is true. The left are hypocrites. But why are they hypocrites? Because the left cannot escape the very fact that their ideals run contrary to human nature, and that they cannot escape human nature. They are humans themselves. They exist in this corporeal, physically manifested universe. They're not separate from it. They're not above it. They cannot rise above it without claiming to be some sort of god. And I think that's what bothers them so. They view progress as ascending human nature. They view language as a means to transform society, not as a means to reflect current society, the way things really are, rather than the way things ought to be in their minds. This is actually where they come into conflict with a lot of racial minorities they claim to represent, because a lot of racial minorities, a lot of new immigrants, actually hold fairly socially conservative views. In fact, it is so much of a disconnect, the liberal worldview from the worldview of the minorities they claim to represent, that minorities themselves will call these liberals out for being white liberals. Because these white liberals pretend to care about diversity. They pretend to be inclusive of minorities, but at the end of the day, all they're doing is they're grandstanding for political gain. Now, there are a few racial minorities that have gotten into Canadian politics who understand the white liberals' game, and they intend to fully carry it out. So if they wear a turban, they're of Indian descent, they're going for the Indian minority vote. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Just with the recent case with Karen Wang. She's Chinese. She clearly went for the Chinese ethnic vote. And it's on the basis, she argued, that she's Chinese and Jagmeet Singh is an Indian. She appealed to racism. But what can you say? What can you really say about that? What can you conclude from that? Other than the fact that the Liberal Party is self-cannibalizing. When their candidates speak in a different language, in more authentic terms, because the Chinese language, in general, Chinese languages, because there are many of them, do not have sugar-coated words in the vocabulary, like English does. Words mean what they mean, and so there's really no way to spin that. Essentially, treat her as though she was speaking the Liberal Party's ideas on race in plain English, without all the buzzwords, without all the bullshit about diversity, without all of that. That is what you get. You get unfettered racism. You know what? It is time for the Liberal Party to just come out and say it. The Liberal Party believes in a race-based system of governance. That is why Justin Trudeau and many other of his MPs have applauded the Liberal government for having a gender-balanced cabinet. Marianne Monsef and a few other female MPs have said that this was because they felt that women wanted to vote for other women. Women want, and minorities in general, want to vote for people who look like them. These are actual statements by Liberal MPs. This is textbook racism, but when Karen Wang says it in plain Chinese, I say Chinese because Chinese is fairly universal written, and WeChat messages that she wrote were in Chinese. There's no Mandarin. The dialect of Chinese does not change the written form. This is ridiculous. The Liberal Party is racist. That's just the way it is. They all talk about diversity hiring, and they all talk about forcing corporations to hire equal amounts of races. This is just bold-faced discrimination, frankly. That is unjust. That's what it leads to at the end of the day. It leads to unjust discrimination. So what the Liberal Party has to do, if it had any cojones, but it doesn't, because it's a leftist institution and leftists by nature want to create a weak limp-wristed pacifist nation that doesn't stand up for itself or its values. They'd rather assert that we have no values, that we're a post-national nation, than ever assert our values. Many of them probably don't even know what our values are to begin with. So naturally, they are inclined toward the left, who believe that all cultures are the same, and really that morals, the morality of an action or a culture, simply depends on the viewer's perception, where they grew up from. So we have to just cast aside all our prejudices, founded or unfounded, which, by the way, folks, there's a significant difference between the two. Absolutely disgraceful, and this is why our society is decaying. We've built a temple on a foundation of sand, that all moral systems are equivalent, and that anyone who tries to discriminate against inferior moral systems ought to be cast out of society. That's why those Covington kids, Catholic high school students, were being lambasted. The boys, they declared that abortion is a moral wrong no matter what the circumstances are, for the most part, unless you're trying to save the woman's life who's given birth. There are moral absolutes. Murder is wrong, period. But the left hates that. The left views that as discrimination against women. Frankly, both men and women should not murder. It is as simple as that. When we are afraid to articulate moral absolutes, we open the floodgates for cultural relativists who have no less conviction in their ideals, by the way. They're just as vicious as the religious Puritans of old to strip us of all of our rights and freedoms. We can never let the left become entrenched in our system. This is what they do every time they gain power. They destroy religion, they remove God from society, and they sow discontent among the masses. Society's inability on an individual level to defer gratification has made us a greatly indebted nation on the world stage, despite there being no requirement for us to be indebted, save to again prop up pie in the sky utopian visions of a left-wing welfare state, where everyone is equal, everyone is welcome to just come and use up our welfare services on taxpayer dime, and we receive nothing for it. Or, well, I shouldn't say nothing. We receive contrived platitudes from those willing to make big bucks at our expense, under the pretense of poverty reduction. That's gonna have to do it for tonight. Thank you for joining me. Please hit the like button, comment below on the video, subscribe to my channel, share the heck out of this video to everyone you know, hit the bell icon to receive notifications, and have a wonderful evening.